The sentence was delivered the way my father delivered most verdicts, lightly, like a joke he expected applause for. No deadbeats allowed at Christmas this year, he said, carving the roast with exaggerated care. So we're only having your sister and her family. He didn't look at me when he said it. He didn't have to. The table understood the assignment. My mother adjusted the napkins and took a sip of. Someone laughed, softly, as if to smooth the edges. I nodded once. Not agreement. Acknowledgement. I finished my water, stood, and said I had an early drive. Outside, the air had that clean winter know-how, the kind that makes you believe in systems. I sat in my car longer than necessary. Not because I was hurt would have been easier. But because something familiar had settled in. The quiet confirmation that nothing I'd built counted unless it passed through my father's hands first. At home, I put groceries away, answered 2 emails, and packed for a site visit. Life continued in its dependable, untheatrical way. That was the thing about being written off, it frees you from performance. No one expects an update. No one checks the numbers. The mountain lodge had been operational for 3 years by then. 8 million on paper. More in what it enabled. It wasn't flashy, stone, timber, glass used sparingly. Built to last, not impress. I'd never brought my family there because the opportunity never came up. They asked what I was doing these days. The way people ask about traffic, something to fill the gap until dessert. 2 weeks before Christmas, an email arrived from the county clerk's office. Subject line: seasonal access confirmation. They needed confirmation on holiday occupancy, parking permits, and snow management. The lodge had been flagged because of a surge in inquiries. Apparently someone had been trying to reroute a family gathering there without understanding who owned it. I replied with a single sentence and attached the deed. The clerk called me an hour later. Professional, brisk. We've had a few calls, she said. I want to be clear before we respond. You're the sole owner. Les. And you're hosting. Haven't decided. Which was true. Christmas Eve morning, my phone buzzed. My sister's name lit up the screen. I let it ring. An hour later, my father called. I answered on the 4th ring, not immediately, not as a message. We've had some confusion, he said. His voice had shifted. Less sneer, more administration. There's been a mix-up about the lodge. I got an email too, I said. Silence stretched, not angry silence, calculating. Well, he said finally. We were told it might be yours. Might be, I echoed. We're already halfway up the mountain. He added, as if momentum itself should confer permission. I pictured the access road, the gate that didn't care about surnames. The county will need to hear directly from me, I said. They're strict about declared hosts. Another pause. A breath taken with intention. So, he said. Her you hosting? I thought about the roast, the napkins, the laughter that smoothed things over. I thought about the way being underestimated had never actually slowed me down. Yes, I said. I am. When they arrived, it was snowing lightly, the kind that but complicates everything. Cars lined up at the gate. The lodge lights were already on. Warm, efficient, unbothered. The county official was there too, clipboard in hand. She checked IDs, permits, counted vehicles. She addressed me by name. She did not ask my father anything. Capacity is capped at 30, she said businesslike. You're within limits. Parking overflow goes east, not west. You're responsible for compliance. Understood, I said. My father stood just behind her, nodding as if this were all part of his plan. But something had shifted. Authority has a way of clarifying silhouettes. He was no longer centered. Inside I took coats, assigned rooms, explained the heating system once, calmly, without apology. My sister watched me the way people watch a magician after the trick has already happened, looking for wires, missing the point. Dinner was catered. Good food, efficiently served. No speeches, no toasts. Just plates moving, glasses refilled. At one point my father cleared his throat. Not to dominate, just to test the acoustics of relevance. Well, he said, forcing a smile, you've done well for yourself. It landed awkwardly, like a compliment arriving late to the wrong address. Thanks, I said, and returned to my seat. The night passed without incident. That was the strangest part. No confrontation. No collapse. Just a room full of people adjusting their language. Their posture, recalibrating where to place their expectations now that the furniture had been rearranged. I noticed how often my father watched me, not with pride, not with anger, but with uncertainty. Power doesn't announce itself when it changes hands. It simply stops asking permission. On Christmas morning, snow had sealed the road. We were stuck together for a few extra hours. Coffee brewed. Children played. Conversation softened. My mother lingered by the window beside me. "I didn't know," she said quietly. "I didn't hide it," I replied. She nodded. That was all. When the pause finally came and cars began to leave, there were hugs, careful ones. Promises to do this again. None of them quite knew what they were promising. After the last taillights disappeared down the mountain, I walked the rooms alone. Straightened chairs. Turned off lights. Locked the door. It wasn't triumph I felt, it was alignment, for the first time. The story they told about me and the life I lived existed in the same room. They didn't reconcile. They didn't have to. Christmas hadn't been ruined. It had simply moved somewhere they hadn't expected, and stayed there.